Hello everyone, welcome, my name is Phoenix and this is the Consumer's Guide to Filmmaking. The Smashing Machine. 2025, Benny Safdie. This film follows the life of MMA fighter Mark the Smashing Machine Kerr. Arriving in Japan to fight Igor Vovchanchyn, I think I said it right. Let's move the fuck on. He's fighting him for Pride FC. Mark Kerr faces his first loss after getting TKO'd via illegal knees by Vovchanchyn. This loss causes Mark to spiral into addiction, forever altering the course of his life. There were a lot of factors that should have turned me off of this film, but there were also a lot of factors that kept me interested in seeing it. Now that the dust has settled on this one, this was a pretty damn good portrait of a heavyweight fighting pioneer. This film marks Benny Safdie's first major film since splitting from his brother Josh. Under any other director, I think The Smashing Machine would have floundered. Benny Safdie, though, did a more than reasonable job elevating this material. Using that handheld guerrilla style and shooting on film, the camera work in this film is more flowing than one would expect, with sequences blocked incredibly well to allow the actors to do excellent work. The opening bit, shot on dingy-ass cameras in 4x3, felt like I was legit watching an old tape trade VHS of that Valley Tudo tournament. But along with directing this film, Benny Safdie also edited the film. This aspect is one of the things that I think makes the film different from other biopics. The Smashing Machine always feels like we are only getting glimpses into Kerr's life. The editing jumps around through time quite a bit and doesn't spend time explaining what every scene means to people who don't know a thing about MMA. However, it never feels erratic or disjointed and it presents a clear narrative. Plus, the fighting scenes were really well cut together. Aside from some obvious stunt work being hidden, it hung on the fights fairly widely and emphasized the impact of each hit excellently. Now, we obviously have to talk about production design, in particular the makeup. We'll get into casting in a minute, but this makeup team did probably the best they could with who they were working with. They really did give it 110% trying to make Dwayne look like a young Mark Kerr. Also, I love seeing their recreation of the old UFC event setups as well as the Pride FC setups. I'm a sucker for those sorts of things since I'm into, the wrestling and the MMA and all that. My favorite aspect of the film was music, and to a lesser extent, the general audio design. I gotta respect the guy making a movie about combat sports and making sure the punches sounded good. Let me tell you, there were some damn good sounding punches in this movie. Anyways, that's enough about that, back to the music. The original score was composed by jazz musician Nala Sinefro. These arrangements are like something out of fucking Birdman, or some shit like that. The fight scenes are all set to a jazz drummer just ripping on the kit. Then during some of those big emotional sequences, we get these light yet soaring horn solos. But my favorite bits were the more tense and angry moments when there was just this ominous drone over everything. The licensed music throughout was eclectic, but did a good job of fitting the time period and hitting emotional beats. The use of Sinatra's My Way, while a tad obnoxious in the trailers, was used well in the movie. The film's credits features a song called Limelight by Alan Parsons. While this song plays, we see images of Mark Kerr throughout his life, the real-life Mark Kerr. The lyrics of this song following the film we just saw and the images we are seeing while the credits roll just fits so perfectly and sums the film up so perfectly, even if it can be a little on the nose. The script by Benny Safdie does a good job capturing this man's life in a way that still has some of Safdie's voice in it. Safdie presents us with a story that has no clear happy ending or clear triumph. Mark Kerr was a talent to be sure, but his potential was never fully realized due to his addiction issues. He never quite recovered after his spiral following the Vovchanchyn fight, and the best we can get in terms of solace is that Kerr gained perspective after losing the Pride Grand Prix in 2000. He seems to be doing well for himself now, at least based on the scene where Kerr plays himself in the present day. Now it's time to get into the elephant in the room, and that's the casting. So, this is the big question. Did Dwayne do a good job? This is the thing. While casting a man in his mid-50s to play a guy who was probably in his 30s or so, when the story was taking place, was bizarre. But from a pure acting perspective, Dwayne purported himself amicably. He made a concerted effort to portray the character of Mark Kerr and not just be Dwayne. He was given some really meaty scenes to work with, and he was portraying some really big emotions. I gotta respect Dwayne for at least trying to do some acting in this film. Alongside him is Emily Blunt as Kerr's girlfriend Dawn. Her interactions with Dwayne are what reminded me of the Safdie brothers' best work. Benny was able to craft through the script and directing his actors scenes with such a natural escalation of emotion. The big outbursts felt earned in this movie. It was always those little arguments though, those calm disagreements that don't quite escalate, that always felt the most uncomfortable and real. Blunt's reaction to Dwayne's calm admonishments had me just squirming, not gonna lie there. But what was most impressive about this cast was the number of non-actors that had major parts in this film, all of whom come from the combat sports world. Most notably, we have Ryan Darth Bader portraying Mark the Hammer Coleman. For a dude that probably hasn't acted a day in his life, he turned in a raw and authentic performance, probably because he was just being him. Like, he really wasn't trying at all. Same goes for Boss Rutan, who was legit playing himself, and his scene where he had an old injury flare up was incredibly powerful to watch. In a much smaller role, heavyweight boxing champion Alexander Usyk played Igor Vovchetchin, and there wasn't much to report there honestly, but got a hell of a presence though. Overall, I think there is a lot to like about what Benny Safdie did with the Smashing Machine. Elevating this biopic into a melancholic tale of a man whose star was snuffed out due to his demons, Safdie managed to get Dwayne to, do his fucking job and act. For that, Benny earns my respect. Also, the film is well crafted from a direction standpoint, has a banging score, and Dwayne was supported by some top tier castmates. I say, put this film on the watch list, especially if you want to be proven wrong about any ill feelings you may have about Dwayne's acting acumen. All other ill feelings towards Dwayne, though, are warranted. Fuck off, Dwayne. Then, now, forever. Recommended. 8 out of 10. Catch you later, guys.